President Obama will announce new limits on when the United States can use its nuclear weapons. The announcement comes just 1 week before over 40 leaders come together in Washington for a nuclear summit. And Bloomberg's executive editor Al Hunt joins us now for more on the significance of the president's decision here. This is quite an opener for the summit that Obama will be hosting.
It is, Margaret. It's also a vintage Obama move. It does get him out front on this issue prior to signing the arms control treaty with the Russians in Prague later this week and the big session that you refer to next week. It also contains a number of nuances and caveats that the anti-nuclear crowd doesn't like a whole lot. And you can hear the Dick Cheneys of the world, even before the ink is dry, screaming about appeasement and softness and the like. Margaret, the fact is that for 60 years, American policy has been the threat of nuclear deterrence. We've never used it. John Foster Dulles wanted to use it in Vietnam. President Eisenhower said no. Curtis LeMay at the Cuban Missile Crisis wanted to use it. John F. Kennedy said no.
So if this is supposed to also crack down on the threat of nuclear terrorism, what does this do in actually changing when the United States would use its own weaponry?
Well, it says that the U.S. would not consider a nuclear response unless one of the countries is violating the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, read Iran and North Korea, or unless there was an attack against the United States that was sufficiently serious to justify a nuclear response. So therefore, it is a no nuclear attack unless it's necessary.
So the president will also be, as you mentioned, going to Prague. He's signing this agreement with Russia as well. We've got April 12th, that nuclear summit underway. Why is all of this coming to a head right now? Is this a backdoor policy towards Iran? What's driving the timing?
That's certainly the backdrop. These are issues that he wanted to address. These are meetings he wanted to hold. All of this was on the calendar, but Iran is the important backdrop of all of this. I think the president's move politically and psychologically at least gives him more leverage in the very difficult task of trying to get an international consensus on pressuring Iran.
Let's take it right here at home for a bit, because on the domestic front, I know there's been a lot of conversation about what's happening internally at the RNC, some controversy over how party funds were used for some entertainment. And we do know there's a little bit of a shakeup underway there. What are Republicans doing? Should they be worried?
Margaret, there are a lot of issues upon which I am not expert. We learned college basketball was one last night, but at the very top of that list are lesbian bondage clubs. But that is what the RNC spent over $2,000 on at a California sex club, and that's why Michael Steele fired his chief of staff yesterday. He's the fall guy for this. There have been a number of successful party chairmen, but all have kept a lower profile, have worried about raising money and organizing precincts. Michael Steele has not learned that lesson yet.
You know, Al, I don't think I ever would have believed that phrase would have come out of your mouth.
But of course, I'm the guy that picked Butler, too.
Yes, well, I know you had a late night, and unfortunately, we're disappointed with that bet on Butler, though. We'll see. I think I called it right with Duke, but I was kind of rooting for the underdog there. Oh, wow.
You and my wife called it right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Al Hunt, joining us, as always, from Washington.